Hello and welcome. I am making some sourdough tortillas today. I will be using these sourdough tortillas for things like the breakfast burritos that are coming, and I'm going to be making tacos and basically just anything you use a flour tortilla for. I like adding the sourdough because it adds a little bit more depth of flavor and it's really nice. But before I get ahead of myself, hello and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Brittany Morris, and I am working on learning to make things from scratch and I'm taking you along with me. I've been doing this for about 6 months, and we make a majority of our food from scratch now. And we're just continue to learn. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you at the end. Goodbye.
All right, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is add about 1.5 heaping cups of all-purpose flour to your mixer. You can do it by hand, but I prefer my mixer. I'm using a half a cup, that's why I'm putting 3 in. Then you're going to add about a half a cup of your sourdough discard. You can do your sourdough starter itself, but this is one of the ways I use my discard, and I just store it in that big jar for up to a week in the fridge and just add to it when I feed it every day. Because you can use discard with this recipe, it's one of my favorite ways to try to avoid wasting that discard, and it comes out perfect. I'm just getting the rest of that half a cup out of my measuring cup. Alright, now I'm going to add some warm water. I'm using my electric water heater right there. And we're going to add a little bit over of a third of a cup. It's about a third cup and 1 tablespoon of water. The warm will help everything mix together, but make sure it's not hot because anything that's left in that discard will die. Now I melted some butter, exactly 1/4 cup of butter. You can do softened also, but I forgot to leave it out, so I just melted mine. And then your last ingredient is just 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. Once you have all of that, I'm just going to turn on my mixer and wait for it to be mixed well. Alright, now that it is all mixed together, I'm putting just a little bit of water on my hands so that it doesn't stick quite so bad when I'm picking it up. But for the most part, it won't be super sticky. Now you have a couple of choices here. You can put it in the refrigerator, like I'm going to do. So I'm going to wrap it up in some foil, not foil, in some plastic wrap. And I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours to just make it less sticky and more just easier to handle later. But you can also just oil your bowl and do it there. Either way, it needs to sit for a little bit. Now I'm gonna start cooking them. So you roll them out as thin as you can. The amount of dough you're going to use depends on how big you want them and how big your pan is. Start heating your pan so it's really hot before you add the tortilla. It needs to be hot or it's not going to cook quite right. Then you're just going to let it cook, and as you can see, it bubbles up a little bit as it's cooking. While this one is cooking, I am rolling my next one, and it should be thin enough where you can see your fingers when you hold it up to the light. And I'm just going to flip this guy and let it finish cooking while I'm finishing prepping the next one. And they're super soft, they're flexible, and I use these for all kinds of different recipes.
And that is it. Two really important tips for making tortillas. Make sure your pan is really hot. It needs to be really hot when you put it in. It's going to immediately start heating up that dough. So if it's like folded or something like that, you need to unfold it really fast. Otherwise, it's not going to unfold. Once it's really, really hot, you can add it. But even before that, the second tip is technically the first one, is to roll it really thin. It needs to be really, really, really thin. Like you can put it up to the window and see your hand through it. The thinner it is, the better your tortillas are going to turn out. They're going to be more flexible and more soft and less flatbreadish. So roll them really thin, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you let me know if you decide to make these with your sourdough discard. I know that anybody who has discard knows that we end up with a lot of it, so let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.